Hello everyone, my name is Protesilaos, also known as Prot. In this video I want to show you how to set fonts in Emacs. I will use a generic method and then I will also show you how to do basically the same thing with the help of a package. This package is called Fontaine and is one of my many packages. Let's start with the generic method and we will take it from there. There is a function called setFaceAttribute. There are functions that are in the same family, such as setFaceForeground, setFaceBackground, etc. But setFaceAttribute is the one I normally use. It's the most generic and it just works. SetFaceAttribute allows us to modify what Emacs calls a face. Faces are constructs of the display engine of Emacs that cover a set of typographic and color attributes, meaning that they specify the font family, the font height, the font weight, whether there is a slant or not, the foreground color, the background color, and so on. There are several attributes that pertain to faces. In other words, what we see over here, this is a face. This is an other face. The mode line here has different faces. There are many faces on display over there. And basically, whenever you see text in Emacs, you can have a face applied there. This is the general idea. What we want to do now is configure faces that are specific to typography. And there are three such faces. Of course, every face can have its own typographic settings, but you normally wouldn't want every single face to have them. You would probably want to specify only a few of them, and then the rest will take it from there. We have the default face, and I will explain what each of these does, what it applies to. We have the fixed pitch and the variable pitch, just like that. Fixed pitch means monospaced, and variable pitch means proportionately spaced. And these two apply only to cases where the font family has to be mono or proportionately spaced. The default face, on the other hand, is the face that applies by default everywhere. And it is the face that not just specifies the font family, it also specifies the background and the foreground and basically everything we see. In other words, every face will fall back to the default faces attributes unless it overrides them. For example, here there is a face that applies to comments. It uses the same font family as this face, even though I did not specify a font family for this one, meaning that this face doesn't have its own font family, it is unspecified, so it falls back to the default. And this is the general principle that you need to consider. Put simply, if we modify the font family of the default face, we are most likely changing the vast majority of faces in Emacs, the font family they are using. Let's see now this in action. SetFaceAttribute accepts a face argument. We can see the lower part of the screen over here. There is in the echo area the setFaceAttribute, the function that I am now calling. And next to it, it has a list of the arguments that it accepts. And it highlights the argument that I am right now supplying. This interface is built into Emacs. It is called LDoc mode, and I believe it is enabled by default for programming modes. Now, what I want to do is set the face as a symbol, and meaning I want to provide a single quote, and just like that. Then it accepts a frame argument. For this purpose, I will set it to nil. There are other options, of course, and you can learn about them by reading the documentation of this function. Control HF with the default key bindings or Emacs describe function, and then you select set face attribute. If you are over it, it defaults to that, so you just type enter, and it will tell you in a help buffer all about this function. It will tell you what frame is, what sort of arguments it accepts, and what sort of values rather it accepts, and that sort of thing. Further down, if we keep searching, we will find a list and an explanation of all the face attributes. One such attribute is the family, another one is the weight, another one is the height, and there are many others. But these are the ones we are interested in right now. Let me then set a nil value for the frame and then provide in the args, as you can see in the lower part of LDoc, it highlights the args, meaning a list of arguments, rest args. So any number of arguments here. I will provide a family, and I will set it to source code pro, which is a different font than the one I am using right now. Let's evaluate. I am at the end of the expression and I am typing Control X, Control E, and this has now changed the font family that I am using by default. Okay, again, remember that the default takes effect but can be overridden by other faces, such as, for example, my mode line over here. You will notice that it is not using source code pro. It is using a different font family, which we will get to. Just like that, I was able to change my font family. Let's change back to what I was using. Iosefka Comfy is the font that I am using. This is a design that I have made. It is a heavily modified version of the Iosefka font. So here we have it. I am back to the default. Let's go and change the height, and I will just set it to 200. But let me also provide an explanation here that height is equal to the point size that you may be used to from other applications times 10. So if in your application, web browser or whatever, you are setting the font size to 10, in Emacs you set the height to 100. This is the idea. Let me set the height to 200 like this, and just like that, I am able to increase it. Let me set it back to 180. This is fine. If all you want to do is just change the height, you don't need to specify the family. So you can remove the family completely and just set this to a number. And just like that, you have changed the default font family. But let's keep that for now over there. And let's have this again and 180. This is basically it when it comes to setting the attributes. You can do the same for the weight, and the weight accepts symbols, and these symbols must be supported by the given font family. For example, bold. And if I do that, it makes everything bold in this case, or light. And this is the idea. Of course, depending on your font family, you may have other values like semi-light or regular. There are many depending on what you are using, what font you are using. Right now, I will set it to semi-light, just like that. So here is the idea. Let's see now what we can do with this, because of course we can set the default face, but we can do more. We can set the other faces as well to have a more pleasant reading experience. Let me switch to my .emacs. This is my literate Emacs configuration. I did a video about it recently. It's an advanced Emacs configuration, and I explain my reasoning there, as well as in the frequently asked questions that I document here. Not to worry. What we are interested in here is to see that here I have different fonts in effect. This is not a monospaced font. Maybe we can actually go to a section that has a code as well. And since I will be showing you fontaine later, let's have it here already. You can see here that this is monospaced, and this one here is a different font. This one is proportionately spaced, or because I am using my own font, quasi-proportionately spaced. So it's not entirely proportionately spaced. But let's change the font first, and then I will tell you how I am getting this effect. Let's go back to here and do set face attribute. And let's say the variable pitch, we will change it to a family that is quite different from what I am now using. For demo purposes, I will do deja vu serif. This is the thing. Deja vu serif is probably installed by default in your Linux distribution. If not, no worries, you can easily get it. Control X, Control E, and now I see the effect right away in the window below. This is a serif font family, the Deja Vu super family, and we can see here that we have Deja Vu serif, and below we still have my monospaced font, and this is the fixed pitch. So let's also change the fixed pitch, and let's use source code pro over there, just so that you see the effect. Just like that, and I am able to see the effect live. And so I can easily tinker with this and get the font family and the font configurations that I like the most. Personally, I don't like Deja Vu Serif and Source Code Pro, so I will just go back to what I was using, and we will see what I just did. We will see it a bit later. But let me tell you about this configuration over here, which combines proportionately spaced fonts with monospaced fonts. In any buffer in Emacs, we can do Emacs variable dash pitch dash mode to toggle the display of proportionately spaced fonts in the current buffer. This is a built-in feature, the variable pitch mode. Now I have disabled it. Normally I enable it for text mode buffers like org mode, markdown, etc. But now I have disabled it, and we see that everything has changed to complete mono spacing. So I will do Emacs variable pitch mode again, and now I am using proportionately spaced fonts just like that. And I think proportional spacing is better for pros, just like that, as you can see over here. You will notice, however, that not everything in this buffer is proportionately spaced. The text is, the paragraphs are, but the code blocks are not. The code blocks are still mono-spaced. And this is achieved at the theme level, which has, so this is the modus vivendi tinted theme. It is part of the modus themes connection. All my themes have a mixed fonts setting, which I set to true, but I will set to nil now. And all my themes, okay, so it's the modus themes. One second, let's write it here. The modus themes, the F themes, it's F, not EF, and the standard themes. All these have a mixed fonts setting, and I will set it to nil right now just for you to see the effect, and then I will reload the font, the theme rather, for changes to take effect. So modus vivendi tinted is the font I am the theme rather I am using right now, and let's see what happened now. We notice that now everything is proportionately spaced. And I can do deja vu serif to see this. You see, the paragraphs are proportionately spaced and the code blocks are proportionately spaced. So everything is using the same font. The problem with this is that if you type something that is sensitive to spacing, for example, if we have a table, let's see it in action over here. We have a table like this, and it has some values. test and hello, and we see that we get a mess out of this. This is not useful. I wouldn't be using tables if they were being spaced like this. The reason the spacing is like this is because the implementation relies on fixed spacing. So physical spaces at the font level have to be of equal length, whereas with a proportionately spaced font spaces are not the same. The size of each cell is not the same. What we then do, oops, sorry, what we then do is that we want to set mixed fonts at the level of the theme, and then we will reload the theme for changes to take effect. And now we see that we get back what we wanted. And let's see this. So deja vu serif is for something that is not spacing sensitive, and everything that is spacing sensitive in this mixed fonts configuration will use mono spacing. It will use fixed pitch. So I will evaluate source code pro, and you see now that this is source code pro over there. This is the idea. Let's disable this. And let me just revert to the fonts that I use. This is the idea. And then once we have set the mixed font, we just do Emacs variable pitch mode to apply that. Personally, because I do variable pitch mode all the time for text modes, I make it the default. So I have something like this in my configuration. It's not exactly this, but this is the spirit of it. Variable pitch and mode. This is the idea. And what this means is that when you enter a mode, a major mode that is text mode or derived from text mode, activate variable pitch mode. And this applies to org mode, markdown, plain text, and others like them. This is the idea. And of course, if you don't like it, you just disable it with MX variable pitch mode. This is all basically it for fonts. You can have something like this in your configuration, minus the part that is for the themes, of course, unless you are using one of my themes. And if you have something like this in your configuration, you are good to go. The problem with this setup is that it is hard to change the values on the fly, to quickly change to something else. In my case, when I am writing, I write with this. Let me show you. You don't have to see it. It will be very small relative to this. This is actually the font size that I am using when I am writing. This is my default font size. But when I do a presentation, I cannot possibly use this, right? For this case, I want to switch quickly to presentation mode. And this means that I want to use a preset configuration that I have optimized for the purposes of doing presentations, such as this one. And so the presentation will set quickly. Basically, it will do this under the hood. It is a bit more sophisticated, but this is fundamentally the idea. It sets the sizes and the families to the ones that we specify. This ability to quickly change between preset configurations is where my fontaine package comes into play. This is, you can get this by default, but then if you want to quickly switch between them, fontaine is the way to go. So let's go to my prot.emacs.org, and this is my fontaine. And of course, as with everything that I do, the manual is comprehensive. You can take a look at it. Here I have just the code parts, and we are interested in the fontaine presets user option. This user option defines preset configurations for fonts, and it does that by setting an A list. It is a list of lists, an association list, and this A list includes a symbol, which is like an arbitrary word, which is for us to identify the specific preset, and then a list, or rather, as it follows over here, pairs of a property and a value. And the T, which is the default, the fallback preset, defines the fallback values, meaning that if a preset like small does not specify fixed pitch family or whatever, then, or rather, let's say variable pitch family, since I have it over here, if it doesn't specify, then it uses the one from T. Like in the case of regular, it's just empty, so it is using all of the defaults. But I do it like this just to illustrate the point. These over here, you will notice that they are for the faces that I showed earlier. We have the default face, the fixed pitch face, and the variable pitch face. There also are the bold face and the italic face, and these are very useful if you are using any of my themes, because none of my themes hard codes a bold weight or an italic slant. So you can change it from here as well and have it take effect everywhere. The thing with Fontaine now is that these presets are can be specified like this to also inherit from each other. Let's see this in action. I am defining a medium preset, and this medium preset deviates from the fallback in terms of these three attributes over here, these three properties. So the weight, the default height, and the bold weight. And the bold weight, I want it to be extra bold, which is, of course, supported by my font family. And then in the presentation preset, I am inheriting medium. And then what I say is, well, I like what medium does, but I still want to override something. And here I want to override the default weight to be even lighter. And then I want to change the default height to be higher. This is the idea. Let's see this in action now. I will define a demo preset. For now, I will not inherit from anything. I don't need to inherit from something. So I will do the default height. Let's set it to 200. And the default weight, let's set it to regular, like this. This is all I want. So I will evaluate this. And what I will do now is call my command for changing presets. This is a fontaine command. You can see what I typed in the mode line, on the mode line, and you can see fontaine set preset is the name of the command, and this produces a list of the preset configurations, and then we have demo over there, and I switch to the demo, and you see, just like that, I am able to switch to it. Let's see now. Let me switch back to the presentation. And let's see now what we can do with this. Here, remember that I have the mixed fonts setup. So let's see it like this. Here on the upper window, I am showing a paragraph that will be using variable pitch. And on the bottom window, where I am moving the cursor right now, I will be making the configurations. So the fixed pitch family, I want it to be source code pro, and like this. And then the variable pitch family, I want it to be deja vu serif. Please do not take this as a suggestion for a combination of fonts. I think these don't combine at all, but I am just doing it for demo purposes. We will evaluate this, but I need to be, because I'm not in the code block, I need to do that. And I will now switch to the demo, and you will see how this looks. Just like that, it uses source code pro here, and it uses the deja vu serif font over there. And this is the idea. Let's do now the other thing, fixed pitch weight, because this is too heavy for me. And I will set it to, I don't even remember what source code pro accepts. Does it have a light weight? I don't even remember. I don't even know. Oh, sorry. Let's keep it like that. Let's see. Let's see, does it have? Let's use the demo again. Yeah, it seems to have a lightweight, and just like that, I am changing to this. And now I will change back to my other preset, the presentation preset that I have over there. So this is the idea. Very quickly, you define the preset with the parameters that you want over there, and you switch between your preset configurations just like this. For me, this is very useful because I have a presentation preset and a large preset above, and depending on what I am doing, I switch to those. Otherwise, I use regular or even small. If I am on the laptop, I always use a small. On the desktop, I normally use regular, and the others are special purpose depending on what I am doing. But usually, it's some presentation, and I set the font to what it needs to be. This is the idea, folks, and this is the fontaine package of mine, just to find the variable pitch mode. So further down in my configuration, I also set this up. As I told you, I am doing it for text mode hook, but it is a bit more elaborate. I tweak a few more things, and then I set it just like that. You can find all my configurations on my website, as well as by checking my dot files. And I will include links to my configuration in the description of this video. But of course, you can always check my website, prodesilas.com/Emacs, and you will find everything I do about Emacs there. So my Emacs configuration and all my Emacs packages are there. This is the idea, folks. Configuring fonts in Emacs, I really like this approach. It's just working, and you can easily adapt as you go to evolving circumstances and always have something that looks pretty. The font that I am using, as I said, it's Iosefka Comfy. Iosefka Comfy, because I get asked this in practically every video. What font are you using? This is my own custom build of Iosefka, and it is comprehensive, and you can check more about it. I also documented in my .emacs, so you can find it there, and you can also find its Git repository and take it from there. That's all for now, folks. Thank you very much for your attention. Take care, and goodbye for now.